Long ago, in the kingdom of Zubari, the drums of war thundered almost every year. Neighboring tribes fought over land, cattle, and pride. Among the warriors of Zubari was a young man named Kelechi. Kelechi was not the strongest, nor the richest, but he had a heart that burned with courage. From childhood, he carried a dream: one day, I will bring peace to my people. One day, the sword will sleep, and love will guide us instead of war. But dreams were not enough. The king demanded strength, and the battlefield demanded blood. Kelechi was not the strongest, nor the richest, but he had a heart that burned with courage. From childhood, he carried a dream: one day, I will bring peace to my people. One day, the sword will sleep, and love will guide us instead of war. As Kelechi knelt to drink, he heard a soft voice. You seek more than water, warrior. Startled, he looked up. From the shimmering river rose a young woman with skin like bronze and eyes as deep as the night sky. Her hair flowed like dark waves, crowned with lilies. Who are you? Kelechi whispered. I am Amara, daughter of the river, she said, her voice like music. I know your heart, and I know your dream. Kelechi's breath caught. Never had he seen such beauty, nor felt such calm. Yet he bowed his head, for he knew the spirits were not to be taken lightly. Why show yourself to me? He asked. Amara's gaze softened. Because your soul is different from other men. You do not fight only for blood or pride. You fight for peace. And peace is what I have longed to see. From that night, Kelechi returned often to the river Luma. He and Amara spoke of dreams, of fears, of the future. Slowly, the bond between them grew into something deeper, love as gentle as water, yet as unbreakable as stone. But their love was forbidden. Amara was not of the human world. If the elders discovered Kelechi's secret, they would call it witchcraft. If the rival tribes learned, they would call it weakness. Still, Kelechi whispered to the river one night. Even if the world stands against us, I will choose you. My sword may serve the king, but my heart belongs to you. Amara touched his face with a hand as cool as moonlit water. Then your heart will be tested, warrior. For love that is not tested is only a dream. The kingdom of Zubari had enjoyed months of uneasy peace, but whispers of war returned like vultures circling above carrion. The northern tribe of Gorni raided border villages, stealing cattle and burning fields. King Oba summoned his warriors. This land will not be shamed, he thundered. Tomorrow we march, and we will crush the Gorni until their drums are silent. Kelechi felt his chest tighten. His body longed for glory, but his soul yearned for peace. He thought of Amara's eyes, of the nights by the river where he had promised to fight not for blood, but for harmony. Still, duty bound him. If he refused the king, he would be branded a coward. That night, Kelechi went to the river Luma. Amara rose from the water, her hair glistening in moonlight. But her smile faded when she saw the heaviness in his eyes. They are calling you to war, she said quietly. Kelechi nodded. If I do not fight, they will kill me. If I do fight, I will kill others. Tell me, Amara, how can a man choose when every road is stained with blood? Amara touched his hand. The river has taught me this: water does not choose its path. It flows where it must, but it shapes the land with patience, not violence. If your heart is true, even in war, you can still fight for peace. Kelechi's brow furrowed. And if I do not return? For the first time, Sorrow shadowed Amara's face. Then the river will mourn. But know this, love that is true does not end with death. It flows beyond the grave. At dawn, the warriors of Zubari clashed with the Gorni under a blood-red sky. Spears clattered, shields shattered, and drums roared. Kelechi fought bravely, but his heart resisted cruelty. He struck to disarm, not to kill. He defended the weak, shielded his brothers, and when he had no choice but to strike, he prayed for the fallen. His comrades mocked him. Kelechi, the gentle warrior, they jeered. But even in mockery, they respected him, for no man fought with more courage, and none stood longer on the battlefield. By nightfall, the Gorni retreated. Zubari declared victory, but it was a victory soaked in blood. As the wounded were gathered, Kelechi found a Gorni warrior lying broken but alive. The man's spear had been shattered, his chest bleeding, his eyes wide with fear. Every instinct told Kelechi to finish him. But another voice whispered, Amara's voice, even in war, you can fight for peace. Kelechi lifted the man gently. You are my enemy in battle, but not in soul. Live and tell your people that not all warriors fight for hate. The Gorni stared in disbelief. He nodded weakly, gratitude shining in his fading eyes. When Kelechi returned, the other warriors spoke of his mercy with suspicion. Some called it weakness. Others whispered it was sorcery. When the king heard, his face darkened. You spared the enemy. Mercy is for women and children, not for warriors. If you value compassion more than my command, then you are no warrior of Zubari. The words struck Kelechi like a spear to the heart. He bowed in silence, but inside, a storm raged. Was he truly weak for following his heart? Or was the king blind to a truth greater than conquest? Kelechi returned to the river that night, weary and torn. Amara rose once more, her eyes filled with pride. You did well, she said softly. For true strength is not in killing, but in choosing not to kill when hatred commands you. Kelechi lowered his gaze. But they think me a coward. Even the king shames me. Amara lifted his chin. Kings come and go. Glory fades. But a man who guards his soul leaves behind a legacy greater than empires. Remember, Kelechi, you are not fighting only for today. You are shaping tomorrow. For the first time since the battle, Kelechi smiled. His heart, though heavy, found peace in her words. The battle of Gorni Plains was over, but in the village of Okuta, tongues wagged like restless snakes. Kelechi spared the enemy, some muttered. He sneaks away at night, others whispered. Perhaps he serves the river spirits. Perhaps he has bargained with them. The rumors grew like wildfire. Mothers warned their sons not to follow his path. Elders questioned his loyalty. Even his fellow warriors avoided his gaze. Only one man fanned the flames with cunning delight, Baku, a rival warrior who envied Kelechi's courage. Mark my words, Baku said to the council. No man who abandons the will of the king should hold honor among us. Unmoved by gossip, Kelechi continued to meet Amara by the river Luma. Their moments were stolen, fragile, and beautiful. Sometimes they spoke of dreams. Sometimes they laughed under the stars. Sometimes they sat in silence, their hands intertwined, hearts beating as one. Do you regret loving me? Kelechi asked one night. Amara's eyes glistened. How can one regret the river that quenches their thirst? No, my warrior. But I fear the world will not forgive what it does not understand. Kelechi kissed her hand gently. Then let the world rage. For as long as you rise from these waters, I will come to you. But unknown to them, a pair of eyes watched from the shadows, jealous, hateful eyes. One evening, Bako followed Kelechi to the river. Hidden among reeds, he saw the warrior kneel before the shimmering maiden. Bako's heart pounded. So it's true, he thought. He consorts with a spirit. That is why he fights differently, why the king doubts him. He is cursed. The next morning, Bako stood before King Oba. My king, forgive me for the words I must speak, but they are words of truth. Kelechi is not loyal to Zubari. He bows to the River Maiden at night. He has taken a spirit as his lover. Gasps filled the council chamber. The king's face darkened like a gathering storm. If this is true, he has betrayed his people, his king, and his blood. Bring him before me. Kelechi was seized and dragged before the council. Villagers crowded the square, murmuring, pointing, judging. King Oba thundered, Kelechi, son of Okuta, you stand accused of consorting with forbidden spirits and betraying your king. Speak, and let the drum of truth decide your fate. The great drum was brought forward, its skin gleaming. Every eye turned to Kelechi. Kelechi's heart pounded. To deny Amara would save him, but it would also dishonor love itself. To confess would mean banishment or death. He stepped forward, lifted his hand, and struck the drum. The sound rang pure, strong, unbroken. The ancestors themselves listened. Yes, Kelechi said firmly, his voice echoing across the square. I love Amara, daughter of the river. She has shown me a truth greater than war, greater than conquest. If that is betrayal, then let me be called traitor. But I will not betray love. A hush fell. The drum did not falter. The truth was undeniable. King Oba's face burned with fury. Love? With a spirit. You shame our bloodline. You defy my command. Such love is poison, it weakens warriors, it divides kingdoms. For this crime, Kelechi, you are exiled from Zubari. Step beyond our gates, and never return. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some pitied him, others spat in scorn. But none dared oppose the king. Kelechi bowed his head, not in shame, but in quiet defiance. I would rather lose my home than lose my soul. That night, Kelechi stood by the river, his heart torn between love and despair. Amara rose, her eyes filled with sorrow. They have cast you out, she whispered. Yes, Kelechi said, his voice heavy. But I regret nothing. Only tell me this, will you still be mine, even when I have no home, no people, no name? Amara's tears shimmered like pearls upon the water. Kelechi, my warrior, love does not ask for crowns or kingdoms. It asks only for truth. And in truth, I will always be yours. They embraced, the river wrapping them in its eternal song. But deep in the shadows, the river itself trembled, for destiny was not done with them yet. Kelechi left Zubari at dawn. No drum marked his departure, no warrior walked beside him, no elder gave him blessing. He carried only his spear, a small satchel, and the memory of Amara's touch. For days he wandered the wilderness, plains that stretched endless, forests that whispered with spirits, mountains sharp as spears. Hunger gnawed at him, loneliness clung like chains. Yet each night, when he reached a stream or pool, Amara would rise from the water, her presence steady as the moon. Do not despair, she told him. The river never abandons its course, and I will never abandon you. Back in Zubari, King Oba celebrated victory and mocked Kelechi's exile. But pride is a fragile crown. Weeks later, the Gurney returned stronger, fiercer, and united under a new warlord. Zubari's warriors faltered. Fields burned, children starved, villages cried for help. And for the first time, even the mighty King Oba felt fear. The elders whispered among themselves, "If only Kelechi were here." His courage, his wisdom, his heart, those were the shields we have lost. One night, as the Gurney closed in, the sacred drum of truth was beaten. Its sound was not for judgment but for plea. The ancestors themselves seemed to call out, their thunder echoing into the wilderness. Far away, Kelechi heard it. His heart pounded. "They cast me out," he told Amara. "Why should I return?" Amara touched his chest. "Because love is not only for me. Love is also for the people who wronged you. A true warrior does not fight because he is wanted, he fights because it is right." Kelechi closed his eyes. Then he lifted his spear. "Then I will fight not for the king, not for glory, but for the children, the mothers, the land. And I will fight with the river in my heart." When Kelechi appeared on the battlefield, the warriors of Zubari gasped. Some shouted in anger, others in relief. But no man denied the fire in his eyes. The battle raged like a storm. Spears flew, shields cracked, the sky itself darkened. Yet wherever Kelechi fought, hope followed. He moved like water, swift, unyielding, unstoppable. At the height of the battle, Kelechi faced the Gurney warlord. The man was huge, his axe dripping with blood. They clashed with fury, the ground trembling beneath them. The warlord sneered. "Your king cast you out. Why fight for those who scorned you?" Kelechi's voice rang clear, "I fight not for kings, but for the soul of my people. And no exile can take that from me." With one final strike, he disarmed the warlord and forced him to his knees. The Gurney, seeing their leader fallen, laid down their arms. Zubari was saved. When the dust settled, King Oba approached, his pride broken. For the first time, the mighty king bowed his head. "Kelechi, I was blind. You are the true warrior of Zubari. Return and take the place you deserve." The people cheered. Some wept with joy. But Kelechi stood silent. He turned toward the river Luma, where Amara's spirit shimmered just beyond sight. Then he faced the crowd. "I thank you," he said. "But my heart does not belong to thrones or crowns. My path lies with love, with truth, with the river that has always guided me." The crowd hushed. Some understood, others did not. But no man dared question him. Kelechi walked away not as exile, not as servant, but as a free man with his beloved. At the banks of the river Luma, Amara rose to meet him. "You have done what no man dared," she said, tears of joy glistening. "You fought not with hatred, but with love. You chose peace over pride." Kelechi knelt before her. "I chose you, Amara. Always you." The river glowed with light, brighter than the sun, as if the ancestors themselves blessed their union. Amara stepped from the water, her form becoming flesh, her spirit bound no longer to the river. "From this day," she whispered, "I am yours, not as a spirit, but as a woman." They embraced, their love no longer forbidden, but eternal. And so, the warrior Kelechi and the River Maiden Amara chose love over pride, truth over fear, and peace over conquest. Their tale reminds us that strength is not in crowns, armies, or power, but in the courage to love, even when the world calls it weakness. Love tested by sacrifice becomes eternal. And the heart that chooses truth will never walk in exile.